Hello, good day. We're here today again. Frank Savaland with Mr. Ryan Rush. How is your day going, Mister?
It's going really good. Appreciate you having me and taking the time to ask me some super valuable questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you for co-hosting this web series with me and being supportive of our initiative. Thank you so much. Okay, so in this episode, we want to cover your backstory and how your story uh, is sort of like a rags to riches story, how you succeeded from a really normal family who struggles with money and uh, how you planned and thrived and grew and flourished and became such a uh, successful person your own way, um, depending on how people define success. However, people define success, this is a real success story we want to cover today. And this is the most within reach success story that we have. It's your story, it can be our story, and it can be anyone else's story. So let's begin. How was your childhood?
Yeah, so childhood was great. Parents were amazing. They did absolutely everything that they could. Both of my parents, well, my dad is second generation American. His parents came to the States from Guadalajara, Mexico, and my mom is a first generation American. And so she moved to the United States when she was 19, from Mexico, more of like the Yucatan Peninsula, which is like where Cancun is. And, she lived a few hours away from Cancun. And so I grew up in the Chicagoland area, but I grew up, about 2 hours west of of Chicago. And so I lived in like a pretty decently small farm town called DeKalb.
Official
Very
Midwestern, right? You're an official Midwestern.
I am a Midwesterner, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. It's super funny because later on we'll talk about how I moved to LA, but a lot of the friends that I made in LA were also from the Midwest, and so actually, literally all of them except for like two of them were all also from the Midwest. So it's kind of funny how like we find each other in different states, but um, nevertheless, so yeah, so I mean, like childhood was great. Grew up, as like middle class American. I would say like kind of middle to lower class American, kind of depends on like which stage of my childhood we're kind of talking about. But from a very little age, I would always want to, do like little random things for money. So my parents would do garage sales a few times every summer, and I'd host a little lemonade stand, or I'd also just get a ton of my toys that I didn't want to use anymore or didn't like anymore, and I'd sell those and everything like that. Um, and as a little kid, I would always go, knocking on people's doors in my neighborhood, asking if I could just do like odd jobs for them, whether that was like, raking their yard during the fall, shoveling their driveway during the winter, mowing their lawn in the summer, cleaning out their gutters, around the fall time, just tons of stuff, walking
Just
dogs.
to have that cash on hand for the nice things
Yeah,
that you want for yourself, right?
yeah, absolutely. It's because, my parents definitely taught me hard work for sure. Because, I would always see my parents busting their butts. They both work factory jobs, in DeKalb. So our town, we have a lot of factories. We have 3M factories, we have Chrysler factories, we have, Nestle factories, we have, factories for lots of these companies that, are very well known, right? And so um with that being said, they would work a lot, right? And they would work overtime. And so I definitely got, hard work from my parents seeing them do that. But on the flip side, though, I saw what that life looks like when you're kind of just wearing yourself down, going in, doing the exact same thing, as a factory job, working on the line, or, counting parts, or, packaging things in a box to be sent out of the warehouse, just stuff like that. So, just hear my parents complain about their job a lot, or how like, my mom would complain how her hands hurt from packaging, thousands of boxes that day, or, that my dad's feet would hurt because he's like, walking around a concrete floor factory, counting, thousands of parts for Chrysler. And so I would kind of hear all these things, and I'd hear them talk about, their jobs and everything. And I kind of inherently didn't really realize it, but I was like learning that I didn't want that, that I didn't want that type of lifestyle where, parents are getting up at 5 in the morning to be at work super early. My mom works second shift throughout my whole childhood. So I really didn't see my mom a lot during my childhood because when I got home from school, she was already at work and wouldn't get off of work until like 11 p.m. when I was sleeping, right? Because I had to be in bed for school in the morning. And so that was, that was kind of hard, not really being able to spend a ton of time with her because she's always, working. And my parents would have to do first shift, second shift because somebody had to be home to watch us or take us to school or pick us up from school and all that stuff, right? And so they would also fight about money a lot as well, because they would get into a lot of consumer debt, with credit cards. And ultimately, the reason why I kind of started my business and the reason why I have such a vested interest in financial education is because I kind of saw how a lack of financial literacy can literally tear a family apart. Because my parents, didn't have they had the same amount of financial literacy that like every American has, which is not a lot, right? They don't teach a lot about finances or investing or money management or any of that stuff in school. And so, they got into consumer debt. They had to pull equity out of their home in order to pay that off. The mortgage was extremely expensive now, and so they, lost the house, and that ultimately resulted in like a divorce, right? And so, literally, the lack of financial literacy and the lack of, money management, everything like that, was the result of our family splitting up.
Exactly. And this is what we are here for.
Mhm.
Financial literacy. This is the FinLit series. This is our goal. This is what we're going to attack. This is what we're going to conquer. We're going to be financial literate. We're going to be 10 times better uh, after these series are over. We're going
Yeah.
to have a better perspective. We will be able to differentiate the good debt from the bad debt and how to escape the system that has been set up for the middle class and the lower middle class. That's our goal. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, um, okay. Now tell us about your high school years. How
Mhm.
you were doing. What made you the man you are today? What changed you for good? What kind
Mhm.
of lesson did you learn from high school that has been helping you so far reaching your goals and dreams? And sort of what gives you energy to uh, and the wisdom to be more financially literate and more independent? That's because financial independence is our end goal, as we discussed in the last episode.
Right. Yeah, no, 100%. So, um, I've heard this saying from Alex Ramosi. I love his business content. I've learned a ton from him and his videos and courses and everything like that. And one thing that he says is that um, he says that the three qualities of an ultra successful person is one, a superiority complex, right? They think that they're better than everybody. Number two is crippling insecurity. And number three is that they are a cleaner, which means that like um the oh man, I kind of figured his name, but Michael Jordan had a trainer, and Michael Jordan was quote unquote a cleaner, where like you don't have a goal that you set. Like the goal is to just be the absolute best possible. There's never like a goal or a bar that you hit, right? And so those are the three kind of traits. Um, and I would say that I just inherently knew somehow, some way that I just knew that I could do so much more than what was kind of, like the classic American dream that's dished out, right? I was always super ambitious. I'd always think very big. I'd always say, these things, and people would tell me to be realistic, or people would say to or like you're a dreamer, or like, yeah, right, just kind of things like that, right? And
Thinking
I
big,
grew up,
bigger
yeah.
than the normal people. Yeah, that's the key.
Right. Right. Which is why I got out of my hometown as fast as possible, 1 month after graduating high school, because I just had recognized that everyone there, was very small minded, and I was quite literally the opposite. I had very, very large goals that, um, would blow other people's mind. Like, they would just think like, how do you expect to go do that? And I'm just like, how could I live my life not trying to do this? Right. So it's very, very polar opposite thinking. And so the other thing was like insecurity. So I really struggled with this, and I just found like I never knew what this chip on my shoulder was. I've always had a chip on my shoulder, and I never could figure out what it was, or like why I felt like I needed to prove something to people so hard and so like aggressively. And again, Alex Ramosi, he's just a great entrepreneur. Like, he's taken feelings and taken thoughts in my head that I knew I had but couldn't really articulate it, and then he'll make a video explaining something, and I'm like, no way, that's exactly like how I feel. But he just finds a way to actually articulate it in a way that I never could. So he said that the reason why he would always try to be like an insanely successful entrepreneur is because he felt like he never was good enough. So he felt like he had to make a shit ton of money to prove to people that like he's worthy of whatever, right? And the second he said that, and he made a video about like, the three qualities of ultra successful people, number two being the crippling insecurity of not being good enough, I instantly was like, whoa. I just attached to that right away, because I was like, that is literally how I've always felt, and I've really thought on this, and so I would say, like, I meditate a lot. I go on walks. When I work out, I'm always like really kind of in deep thought, which I would recommend to anybody. It's actually it's helped me so much. But um, I've kind of like found the stem of what it is. When I was younger, I was always in like the extra reading classes and the extra math classes and the extra, um, like the classes for dumb kids, essentially, right? And I don't know if this is the reason why, but like, when my mom had me, she had just moved to the United States. She was only in the United States for 1 year, right? She moved to the United States when she was 19. Pretty sure she had me at 20 or 21. So she was still like learning English. And so like we're both kind of learning English together at like the same time, right? And so
You speak fluent
um
Spanish too?
yes, yeah, I can speak Spanish
Oh,
too.
nice.
It has kind of, so like my grandma also lives with us, and well, I obviously moved out, but growing up, she lived in the house too, and she only spoke Spanish. So when I was younger, like my Spanish was like 10 out of 10. Now that I've been moved out of the house for 7 years, I really have not had any reason to speak Spanish in the last like 7 years, so it's not as good as it used to be, unfortunately. um but no, I think I've kind of pinned a point where that chip on my shoulder came from, and it was just because like I was in the like, if you're a slow reader, you have to go into these extra classes. I don't know if they did this in Canada, but in the United States, in elementary school, we'd always do these tests where they'd make you read a passage and time you and see how many words you could read in like 60 seconds, basically. So my numbers were always very low. And so because of that, I fell into like, oh, this kid needs extra help reading. And so I got thrown into like all of the like dumb kids or like the slow kids classes, right? And for me, that made me feel like shit. Made me feel like I'm an idiot. It made me feel like lesser than all the other kids. Um, you know, kids would make fun of me for it in elementary school and in middle school. Same thing. I was in like, when everyone else got to like choose electives, like really fun electives to do, like band or art or like whatever random elective, right? I didn't get the option
You had
of
to do math.
an elective. I had to take the extra, like this is a class like just to help you get to where like everybody else is in terms of like academic book smarts, right? And so like that always made me like the school itself is like separating you and like out making you like an outlier and like basically labeling you as like an idiot, right? And so that's how I always felt. And so I felt like I always had to do so much more, and that like just to feel like I was at like the same level of like all the other kids. And into high school, those classes were like finally done. Like seventh, eighth grade, I had really invested time into catching up and getting at the same like standard testing level as everybody else. So finally, like in high school, I in seventh and eighth grade and in high school, I was out of all of those like extra like you need help classes essentially. And that was like really big thing for me. Like that was like the first thing where like I proved to myself like if I just like put my head down and if I just get to work and if I try hard, then I can get out of these like classes and I can finally be in like the normal classes with all of the normal kids, right? And that was like the first like win for me. In this big scheme of like life, looking at it like from a macro sense. However, you know, just because I wasn't in those classes anymore didn't really necessarily mean that I didn't still carry that identity with me that, I'm not as smart as all the other kids. And so I still had that chip on my shoulder. Like internally, I don't really feel like I'm good enough. So I have to like go above and beyond to kind of prove every shit to everybody. Right. And so, in the high school, I started a car detailing business, and I just saved up money. I had saved up, about 2/3 of the money I needed to buy a car. My dad helped me out with some money as well. And the thing about my parents is that they didn't have a lot of money, but anytime they could try it or anytime they could help me out, they would, right? Which is like,
That's
I
awesome.
love that. And so, love them to death. And I started that car detailing business right after I got that car because I was obsessed with my car. I got a 2001 Lexus IS 300. I was super into cars. So for me, I thought that was a super cool car because it had the same engine as the Toyota Supra, except it wasn't like twin turboed. It was NA, which just means like it was naturally aspirated, but it was still the same 2JZ GTE, the same motor that a Toyota Supra had. So I like loved that car. I thought it was super cool.
Love that car.
Yeah.
Love it. You
Yeah.
got something that you love. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was
That's
very
cool.
passionate about it, and so I would always keep that car, like, absolutely spotless, and people would ask me questions about it, and then at that point, like, a light bulb went off my head. I was like, "Well, I already love this. I'm really good at detailing my car. Why don't I just make money detailing other people's cars?" And, I didn't realize what I was doing at the time, but I was doing door-to-door sales. Right? Like I now that I'm really into business and like everything like that, I'm realizing that all those things that I was doing before, I just did it just because, I would just knock on doors and if they didn't answer, I'd put a flyer in their mailbox of like, "Hey, I'll detail your car. My prices, my services, my phone number, my email, all of that." And I would literally people would answer and I would just be like, "Hey, I'm Ryan. I'm starting a car detailing business. Like, I want to detail your car, basically." It probably was not a good pitch. I don't really remember it. But if they didn't answer the door, I'd just slip it in their mailbox. And I was doing door to door sales. I had no idea that I was doing door to door sales. I was just like, I need to do people's cars. Let me just walk around my neighborhood and knock on people's doors. So I learned how to do door to door sales when I was, 16, 17. And I didn't even realize that I was doing door to door sales. Um, and then in terms of all of my high school teachers, I'll just go to every single one of them, give them the same flyer, ask them to do their cars. My welding teacher, Dave Elliott, Mr. Elliott, he let me detail his Corvette, which I thought was super cool. And I got to put it on my Instagram and like I used it for marketing and I used him like as a testimonial and everything like that. And it's so crazy because the classes that I took with him is actually what saved my butt. And it comes back kind of full circle later in my story. But yeah, where am I? Yeah, so the car detailing. I was able to grow that to the point where my mom's boyfriend's best friend had garage space he wasn't using, and I was like, "Hey, I'm doing a lot of cars. I have a lot of product. I need like a place." And we worked out a deal, and I was able to use his shop, and that's where I ran my whole car detailing business out of was his shop. And I'm in high school. I have a shop, I have a location, I have a business, I'm doing cars, I'm saving money. And I knew that I was going to save this money and move to California as soon as I graduated high school. And I would tell people this, and I would say this, and people would be like, "It's so expensive. You are crazy. You're not going to nobody out there. You're going to get homesick and come right back home. You're going to run out of money, and you're going to come right back home." Like da 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 da, all this stuff. And I all those words just like fell to deaf ears, right? Because I was not allowing any of that to like actually change my mindset on it. I just had I could visualize myself moving out there, and if you can see it and if you really believe it, then like you can make it happen.
So you had a vision
Hmm.
of independence, of moving to a bigger town. LA is, I believe, LA is the sexiest city for all the people who live in North America. Everybody wants to be there. The celebrities, I don't know, the mansions, I don't know, the weather, the coast, Gold
Hmm.
Gym, I don't know, Beverly Hills, Sunset Street, those kinds of stuff interest everybody. And it's one of the most populous civil centers of America. I think it's either second to America or the biggest one.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's the second largest city in America. Yeah.
so, what part of your decision to move to LA was because you wanted that experience? What part was because of the opportunity that presented itself to you? What part was due to a plan that you had? And how can somebody replicate the same story or decide wisely whether to move, whether not to move, those kinds of stuff?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first things first, I would encourage every person to move out of their hometown. Um, Not saying you have to permanently move out of your hometown, but if you like it, obviously you probably wouldn't want to move back to your hometown. But if you like really, really, really miss your hometown and want to move back, then yeah, but you still got all the experiences of not being in your hometown. But I would say, yeah, absolutely move out of your hometown. And what was your question again?
Uh, Three parts. What part of your moving to LA was because of passion, of course.
Oh, okay.
Part of it was because of the opportunity that you had.
Mhm,
For example, the admission that you got in the college that you went to, or
mhm,
somebody you knew there, or some
mhm,
job that was waiting for you down
mhm.
there. Part of it was a piece of the bigger plan that you had for the future. Uh, Tell us, how do these parts come in play?
Okay, yeah. So, I think a big part of success is how resourceful you are, right? I knew even though I had some money saved up, I knew that I didn't have enough credit or enough for a down payment to like get my own apartment and just move out there right away, just like that. And so I asked around, and I literally asked all of my cousins, all of my aunts, uncles, my grandma, is there anyone, do we have any family that lives in Los Angeles? Um, because I really wanted to move out there. And my grandma goes, "Yeah, my brother lives in Los Angeles." And I was like, "Amazing. Who is he? I want to get to know him. I want to see if he'll let me like move in with him for a few months until I get on my feet so that I can just live on my own." We happen to have a family reunion coming up, like 4 or 5 months later. I called him, the first time I literally had ever like talking to him. I was actually, this is so funny that now I'm thinking about this. I was in welding class and he calls me. I'm like, oh shit, my great uncle's calling me. Like my grandma's brother's calling me, just wanted to talk to me and kind of get to know me. And he was like, "Yeah, we'll see. Like, I got a lot of stuff going on. I'm very busy, da 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 da, all this stuff. I might be moving. We'll see. I'll talk to you and I'll give you my decision by the family reunion." I'm like, "Okay, fine." And I'm like so excited for this family reunion. I'm just like, I'm pumped. I'm, really anticipating what he's going to say. I see him. It's like super awkward because like I want to just run up to him and be like, so what's the deal? Like, but I didn't want to like come off like that. So I was just like, hey, what's going on? How's everything? But I really just wanted to get down to like, are you gonna let me move out there with you until I get on my feet, or like, what's the deal? Um, the family reunion was really like a 4-day thing, but it was like the cookout where I saw him. I'm playing catch with his son.
Was it in your hometown or was it in LA?
This was in Kansas City.
Kansas City. Everybody went to Kansas City. Oh my
Yeah,
God, that's
yeah.
awesome.
And so, he finally walks up to me. I'm talking to him, and he's like, "Yeah, you can." Come stay with us until you get on your feet, and then then get out. And so yeah, that's exactly what happened. Fast forward a few months or so, I graduated high school. Within that month, I was so excited, packing up all my stuff, trying to decide whether I'm going to bring my car or not bring my car, all these things. And me and my dad made like the 25-hour drive out to Los Angeles, and then moved in, got settled in. I started school like a month or a couple weeks later. And yeah, that's kind of, I would say like the single greatest decision of my life was making the decision to move to Los Angeles, because so many opportunities, and that's the whole reason why I moved out there, was for the opportunities. And so many opportunities stemmed from that move. And I learned so many things about being an adult, independence, going through, hard times, life kicking your teeth in, um, and all those things. And I mean, like, I lived in LA for about 6 or 7 months, and then COVID hit. So that was very interesting. I moved out there, and, one thing that my parents just asked is that if I move out there, I go to school. Right. And so I went to 1 semester of business school. So I did 1 semester of college, and I really liked college. Like, there was nothing that I didn't like. I loved the people. I made a lot of really cool friends. I loved the connections. I love getting out of the house and going to class and actually learning, because I love learning, and I love growing and learning new skills and everything like that. But I did realize that like all of my business teachers, none of them owned businesses or really owned like successful businesses. So that always like was a red flag for me, and that always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It's kind of crazy how life works, because that 1 semester costed me $7,000, and they wouldn't let me enroll into the second semester unless I paid that $7,000, which I did not have. So I
77. Seven.
7,000.
Oh, okay, seven.
So I couldn't even enroll in the second semester without paying off what I owed for the first semester, which actually was the best thing that could ever happen to me, because what ended up happening is I I ended up not I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take a semester off. I'm just gonna work, make $7,000, pay it off, and then like go back to school. Well, COVID happened during that time.
Yeah.
And I was working as a barista on campus at a cafe. So right when COVID happened, I had lost my job. I was working 2 jobs. I was also a server at a restaurant. All of the restaurants closed. So I lost both my jobs. And at this point, I only lived with my great uncle for 4 months. And then I moved out, and I moved in to a house, and I was just renting a room. And I was really running low on cash. There was a point in time where I literally had like $17 in my bank account. I'm not in school anymore. I have no job because both of my jobs shut down. Campus shut down because of COVID, so the cafe closed down. So that job was done. I didn't get like fired. It was just like the stores closed. So we were just all in limbo mode. The restaurants closed down. Again, wasn't fired, but we're just all in limbo mode, just like wondering what's going to happen. So both of those jobs, both of those incomes cut. My landlord, she didn't give a shit. She was still just like, no, like I'm charging you rent. Like, worst money. I have $17 in my bank account, rent's due. I'm not paying my car insurance in my car because I can't afford it. I literally like don't even have money for gas. Gas is $8 a gallon in California at this time. I have $17 to my name. I don't have any credit cards at this point. And I just didn't know what to do. So I just remember sitting in a parking lot, um, in my car, and I call my dad, and I'm like, dude, I'm screwed. I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. And we're talking, and he brings up, he's like, well, you took welding in high school, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, why don't you just call some steel shops and see if they're still open and see if you can get a welding job there. And I was like, welding. Well, shit. They do make good money.
Yeah,
So, next day, I literally start calling all these steel shops. There's a few that are like 5 minutes away from my apartment, which is super cool. And so at that point, I just go. And now that I'm telling the story, I'm realizing I kind of jumped the timeline a little bit. Because the time that I went unemployed was a bit longer than, you know, it was it was a decently long time because within that time I also worked at a grocery store as a bagger at Vons in California. I forget about that. That was like a really weird like 3 months. But yeah, that was like actually the next job that I got. So I was a bagger at a grocery store. I got fired from that just because I did not like the manager. I would always come in late. I really don't like working for other people. Like I don't like authority much at all. And
same
so
with
I've
me.
I've pretty much been fired from every job that I've ever had, or I just quit. Um, just because I didn't like it. And then after I got fired from Vons as the bagger job, then that's when I like really ran out of money and I was like, dude, I don't know what to do. I walk into a steel shop. I start laying some beads. I start welding, and the guy's like, "Yeah, looks good, but you know what? Like, I don't really have any extra work for you to do. But the steel shop down the street, they do way more. They do way more stuff. Like, they do bigger projects. They do a lot of stuff. Maybe just walk down the street, ask Ozzy, the owner, if he is looking for somebody. I walk in there, walk into the office. I ask for Ozzy. He's there. Say what's up to him. I ask if I can have a job. Same thing. Has me start welding some stuff, gives me like two projects to do. I do it at the end of the day. He looks at the two projects that I did and then he's like, awesome, cool. Well, do you want to come back in tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. But here's the thing. I have no money and I like really, really need money. Is there any way that you could
But
just
you're
front me?
self-employed.
Is there any way that you could just front me my first week in cash now? Um, and just so I can survive. And he kind of like pauses and he looks at me and then he's like, "Are you gonna show up tomorrow?" Or he goes like, "Am I ever gonna see you again?"
Yes,
And I was
there's
like,
always the risk. That's
I
all
know,
there
I
is.
know. And I was like, absolutely. Like, I will be here tomorrow. Like, you'll see me tomorrow. He's like, okay. Literally walks into his office, comes back out to the shop because the office and the shop are like separated, hands me like $1,200 in cash. And he's like, hope this helps you out. I'll see you tomorrow. And I was like, I'll see you tomorrow. That was like a miracle. That was like a gift from God. Shout out to Ozzy. That helped me out tremendously. Um, and I learned that people really believe in people, you know, from that experience. And Ozzy's a great guy, great business owner. But I hated the welding job though. I made good money. I made $20 an hour and I worked like 12-hour days. So I would work from 6 to 6. And so I'd have to get up at 5. I'd be there by like, 5:50, start at 6. And I would actually be done working at 6:30 because I had a 30-minute lunch. And so it was like 6 to 6:30. And I hated it. It was like obviously a dirty job. It was a labor intensive job. It was a dangerous job. You have argon gas flying up your mask all the time. You have sparks going everywhere. You have stuff catching on fire. Everything you touch is extremely hot. You're touching and moving very razor sharp metal. You have grinder blades blowing up in your face. You're grinding metal. There's metal particles in the air that you're breathing in. I would cough up black soot. I would blow my nose and a ton of black soot would come out of it. I would always bust my fingers, cut my arms, burn myself. It just sucked. I just really didn't like it. And it was very long hours. It was very labor intensive. So I was not a fan of it really at all. It just wasn't a job that I liked.
Let's pause for a minute. I have three questions for you,
Hmm.
not related to one another. Okay. Number one, do you believe that one of the most, you said the greatest, the most important asset that people have is their money, and they don't know how to spend it for a better future?
I actually think that the person's greatest asset is their time.
Is there, sorry, my bad. I meant time. I meant time.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, we're talking about money so much, I
Yeah.
just confused. Okay. Okay. Do you agree that people's health, mental, physical, social health is second, the second most important asset, only second to time? Because if you didn't have the healthy hand, healthy body, you wouldn't be able to make the $240 a week.
Hmm.
Do you
Hmm.
agree that health is something really important, almost as important as your time, is an asset, and you should nurture and nourish that asset?
Yeah. So, I think that time and physical health and mental health are just very different. I think that time is your most valuable asset as a human being. But I think that it kind of depends on where you're at in your journey. Um, if you're dead broke and you're really trying to start a business and you're really trying to, whether you're a solopreneur, self-employed, and you're really trying to get it off the ground, your mental health does not matter. Your physical health does not matter. Like, like you should lock yourself in a room, sit down and not talk to anybody and, just eat shit and grind out that business. And you should not be spending time going to the gym. You should not be spending a ton of time meal prepping and making a ton of meals. And you should not be socializing and going to bars and hanging out with people. Like, you have to sacrifice some stuff. You know what I mean? And so, like, at that point, your mental health shouldn't matter and your physical health should not matter. You should just focus on getting rich or die trying at the very beginning stages. But then once you start making some money, like, here's the thing that people don't understand is that people look at billionaires and they look at their like 4 hour long morning routine. They wake up, they cold plunge, then they go for a run. Then they journal for 15 minutes. Then they read for an hour and then they stretch and then they do like an ab workout and then they have their coffee, 90 minutes after waking up, so they set up their, whatever it is. I forget what it's called, but um, like when they were broke and trying to become a billionaire, they weren't doing that shit. They would wake up and just get to work. They didn't have a morning routine. They have so much time now because they're rich. Now they have time for a morning routine. Now they care about their health. Now that they are wealthy, now they care more about sticking around for a long time. So now they really invest a lot of time in their health and into their mental health and their spirituality and their physique and their diet and all that stuff. But like Elon Musk lived in like a box and didn't eat, didn't work out, like didn't do anything. Steve Jobs, all these people, like if you actually listen to their come up story, they didn't have a morning routine. They didn't go to the gym. They didn't meal plan. They didn't have a good diet. They didn't do any of that stuff. All they cared about was getting rich or die trying. was getting their business off the ground, right?
Yeah. Question number 3. Do you agree that the US, the United States, is the land of opportunity? And if you put all of your best efforts into it, you will definitely succeed no matter where you're starting. Um, Even if you're not in the United States, if you're in Europe or even in Africa or something, whoever listens to this podcast, if they try their best for an extended period of time, they will definitely succeed. Do you agree with this phrase?
Yeah. First part of answering your question, do I think that the United States is the greatest land for opportunity? Absolutely, without a doubt. I think about this a lot, and for this reason. When my mom moved to the United States when she was 19, she had me when she was 20. Her mom, her two sisters kept telling her to move back to Mexico so that they could help her raise me.
Mm.
And she refused because she wanted me to be born and raised in America, right? And so I was this close from being born in Mexico. And
Yeah,
I
it's
think
disappointing.
and I think about how different my life would have been growing up in Mexico versus growing up in the United States. And when I think about that, I just feel so much gratitude to be born and raised in this amazing country because capitalism is fucking amazing, right? I have seen myself and I've seen so many people go from literally nothing to having basically everything that they've ever had. Today, I literally went for a walk this morning and I sent a video to my Bible study group about how I have everything in life I've ever wanted. I am, walking around in a very beautiful, very affluent neighborhood. I'm walking on the beach. I'm walking by $10 million houses, absolutely beautiful houses, and the birds are chirping, the weather's amazing. I'm healthy, my family's healthy, my friends are good, I'm good, my family's good. Like I have everything I ever wanted. Life is amazing. And it's all because of what I've built here, because of what this country has allowed me to build. And I just feel like it would have been a lot harder to do. And I wouldn't have nearly as many opportunities if I would have been born in Mexico. I feel like my life would be completely different. And like when I think about that, I just love the United States. I think it's just the best. It is the land of opportunity.
Canada is the second to the US in this order of the lands of opportunity, in my opinion. But do you think people who are listening, who are following us from all around the world, no matter what their background is, can they succeed if they do their best over an extended period of time and
I think it's
persist
very interesting that, people ask that question
and have
because
tenacity?
I think it's very obvious that the answer is yes. We see it all the time. We
Yeah,
see it every day. Like you would have to be the most ignorant person on the planet to look out in the world and really think to yourself that like you're not able to do anything great with your life because of XYZ reasons. Because there is, without a doubt, no matter what your situation is in life, there's someone who has a shittier situation than you and made it happen.
he did. Yeah,
And there's millions of examples out there. You just have to look for it, right? And you don't even really have to look for it. Like all the successful people that you see, most millionaires, most billionaires are all self made. Like 80% of the 1% are self made.
so there are millions of people who were worse than you and they made it. Not maybe not million,
They
but they're in
they
this
were they
spot.
were in a worse position than you and got to where you want to be. Right. Yeah. Because it's all about your resourcefulness. I had brought that up earlier. I was very resourceful in the way that I moved to California. I asked every single family member, is there somebody who lives in Los Angeles? I found one family member. I contacted them. I reached out to them and I was resourceful. Right. It's all about positioning and resourcefulness. People really do create luck. Luck is real. Luck plays a part in it. However, people create luck through positioning and resourcefulness.
What does resourcefulness mean in the literal sense?
Right. Okay. So, for example, two people could have $0 in the bank account, and one person figures out a way to make rent, and the other person just cries victim and, doesn't do anything about it. Right. So,
So like,
like just two people being in the exact same situation, like they're both in a pickle, right? One person is resourceful enough to get themselves out of that situation. Another person just curls up in a ball and cries like a little baby and pulls the victim card and doesn't make shit happen. Right. So that's what I mean by resourcefulness. Like you could be in the same shit position as somebody else, except you make something happen and you get out of it. Right. That's like, because in business and in entrepreneurship, Tom Bilyeu is a billionaire. And one of my favorite lines from him, one of my favorite videos I've ever watched from him, is that he was like, I would not wish upon anybody to become an entrepreneur. It is the worst thing ever. It is like getting curb stomped every single day. It's like, he's like, entrepreneurship is the equivalent of waking up every morning and the first thing in the morning getting curb stomped.
yeah,
Um, and I really like that because it's true. All you do all day is put out fires. All you do all day is deal with problems. And it's all about your resourcefulness, your mindset, how well you deal with stress, and all of those things. So yeah, hope that answers your question.
that's awesome. So, uh, we've covered so far your story up to the point where you're a welder. It's a
Mm-hmm.
labor-intensive job, and you're not satisfied with
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing. Let's go from here. What did you do next to break the loop, break out of this
Right.
vicious circle?
Yeah, I think I just got really fed up and I had to figure out a way because I felt stuck. I was like, dude, there's no way this is how the story ends. That I just work as a welder here. You know what I mean? And so I started listening to podcasts and audiobooks. And I would listen to, a lot of motivational podcasts and a lot of like Ed Milet podcasts, a lot of Patrick Bet-David podcasts, a lot of, Ty Lopez, a lot of just a lot of people like that. And then I came across YouTube videos with Robert Kiyosaki. And then he plugged one of his books. And at the end of the video, he's like, hey, you should read this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna read this because I didn't read books at that time. Like I never read. I hated reading. So like I never had read a single actual chapter book cover to cover in my life. Um, at that time. And so I was like, I'm just gonna get the audiobook. Right. So I was playing the audiobook in my ears, in my AirPods while working as a welder. And that book just completely changed the way that I thought about money. Right. Literally the whole book, he talks about the mindset of his rich dad and the mindset of his poor dad. And for me, in that moment, I instantly saw the whole world in a completely different lens. And I was like, oh my God, rich people don't work for money. Of course they don't work for money. You never see them working. They're always vacationing. They're always traveling. They're always playing golf. They're always at, the horse derby races. They're always at F1 races. They're always at football games and they're always courtside and they're always at the beach and they're always on the yacht and they're always snowboarding and they're not working. They don't work for money.
Let
Duh.
me say something. Uh, they're not always doing this, or if they're always doing these leisure type activities, it's due to the system that they've set up,
Mhm.
which frees them from the bonds that pull them down to work and contribute and uh, sort of have liabilities in their business. They have set up a successful system, uh, and the system stems from the mindset that they have, what they had in mind to build. So we have to get the mind right first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. And so, you know, I, my poor dad was everybody who I ever had spoken to in DeKalb, Illinois. Like they all had the poor dad mindset. And a lot of these people who I talked to as a welder, because we would weld gates, the mechanical metal gates that would move when cars would pull up to their mansions in Brentwood, Pacific Palisades, Beverly Hills. And so we would weld and build all these gates, and then we'd go install them at the houses. And so, like, obviously the homeowners would come out, they'd like be nosy, see what we're doing, make sure we're doing it right, make sure it looks the way that they wanted, all these things. And, sometimes like I'm a very charismatic guy. So, I always spark up conversations with random people, right? Like today I went to the grocery store to buy eggs and I saw duck eggs next to like the regular eggs. And there was another guy sitting right next to me. And I just randomly go, "Hey man, you ever had these duck eggs before?" And he's like, "No, I haven't." And I was like, "Man, I wonder if they're good." And he's like, "There's only one way to find out." And I'm like, "You're right. I'm gonna buy these."
We
And
both think
just
about, yeah.
randomly. No, he didn't grab any. I don't think he wanted to try that, but I did. I'll let you know how those are. I haven't had them yet. But anyways, I talked to them and again, like these guys aren't working. I see, a Ferrari in the driveway. They have the Rolls Royce in the driveway. They have the Range Rover in the driveway. These are 35, $40 million houses, right? Some of them are, obviously some of them are like 10, $20 million houses. Because Pacific Palisades, Brentwood, and Beverly Hills are like three best suburbs in Los Angeles. And and
Richest of all.
the Rich Dad Poor Dad book completely changed the way that I viewed how the world works. I saw the world as a game. I saw the world as a game of Monopoly. I saw the world as the people who think like this and the people who think like this. The people who don't have belief in themselves, they think that the only value that they can provide is their time. And so they go trade their time for money. Then there's the other set of people who recognize that they can build a skill set, they can learn a monetizable skill, they can then be and Robert Kiyosaki created this thing called the cash flow quadrant. First you start as an employer, then you become self-employed, and then you replace yourself and delegate all these tasks to where you become a business owner, and then from a business owner then you become an investor. And in that moment, I was like, that's the game plan. Right now, I'm an employee. I need to become self-employed. I really thought that I was going to become self-employed like with real estate. I've always been obsessed with real estate since I was a little kid. I've always been obsessed with commercial multifamily real estate. I see skyscrapers. I see huge, large, beautiful, brand new apartment complexes. And I just think like they just look beautiful. I'd love to own those. Again, kind of like there having that chip on my shoulder, that insecurity and everything like that, I'd just be like, if I could own huge apartment buildings, like that'd be such a flex. Like that would be something I'd be super proud of and be able to like throw my name on one of those or whatever. And so I really started getting into real estate. Well, a lot of the people in real estate, a lot of the investors in real estate started in sales. And I would talk to these guys and I have a lot of these guys as my real estate mentors. And I would I would listen to these live podcasts in an app called Clubhouse. And every like Tuesday and Thursday, they would host these rooms at like 7 p.m. All these real estate investors would come into this classroom, which is just, again, like a live podcast, just like Twitter Spaces. And all these people would talk real estate. And I was like the noob in there that would ask a ton of questions. And they'd be like, how did you get money to invest in real estate? And a lot of them would be like, oh, I started in sales. And then I just made a shit ton of money in sales because I am my own boss. I create my own schedule. I have an unlimited income potential. It's 100% based on performance, all this stuff. You can make so much money. You don't get a fixed income based on an hourly wage, all these things. And then I would just nag them. I'd be like, hey, can I get a sales job with you? Can I get a sales job with you? Can I get a sales job with you? Finally, one guy actually,
Can I
he
get a
bit
sales
the
what?
bait.
Opportunity? Pardon me.
Yes,
Can I?
I would bug these guys for sales opportunities to get into sales. And if finally one guy was like, all right, fine, sure. And so literally I didn't wait to make any money in sales. I quit my welding job like that. I was like, Ozzy, thank you so much, man. I appreciate everything you've done for me. I have a bigger and better opportunity for myself. And you know, I really need to pursue this. And he understood, you know what I mean? Like this guy's a business owner. I would try to talk to him about, I don't want to like, instead of welding, can I like run your marketing? Can I do like accounting for you? Can I do like, cause like I took accounting 1 and 2 in college, you know what I mean? Like I took, you know, I didn't graduate, but like I still did some. So I knew how to do accounting. I knew how to do all this stuff. He was like, no, 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 I don't need it, you know? And I would always be bummed. But I told him, you know, it was a sales opportunity in finance, and I really wanted to pursue it, and I didn't want to pass up this opportunity. And he totally understood, and he was very cool about it. Um, and so I dropped everything and just went all in sales. And I consider myself a synthesizer. And I want to give credit to Danco and this one guy named Kirby, because these are really the two guys who are the only people who actually like explain what a synthesizer is. But basically, a synthesizer is somebody who just is constantly learning, is extracting a ton of information, and then can synthesize it and basically package it in a bottle and give the information to other people. And that is exactly what I did. As I got into, so I got into sales, I got into life insurance sales, but not just like, I just want to iterate this, not your normal just life insurance by any means. I specifically got into cash value life insurance sales because the type of life insurance that I would sell is only to wealthy people. And the wealthy people are basically using it as an investment vehicle, right? It's not an investment vehicle, it's life insurance, but it acts as an investment vehicle. It's like a foundational asset that allows high net worth client people, high net worth personnel to invest smarter, faster, and safer. And I was like, I'm game. I could sell the hell out of that. And so as I'm learning about the IUL, I'm just intaking a ton of information. I'm watching YouTube videos. I'm reading books. I'm taking my licensing classes. I passed my pre-licensing classes. I'm now licensed. I'm watching so many YouTube videos. I'm reading articles. I'm reading books on it, and I'm just intaking all this information. I'm synthesizing it, I'm breaking it down, I'm packaging it in a very easy way for people to digest, and then I'm turning around and creating content on TikTok about it. As I'm learning this stuff, I'm turning around and creating content about it on TikTok. And literally, it was like, as soon as I got licensed, as soon as I was legally able to start writing business and to start actually selling with my license, flood of people DMing me, commenting, how can I get an IUL? How can I learn more? Dude, I was on like 8 to 12 appointments a day. I was just closing like crazy, back to back to back to back to back to back all day, every day. And I made multiple 6 figures in my first 6 months in sales. And that completely changed my life. Everything that I had, everything that Robert Kiyosaki told me in the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, in that moment, when I was making all that money every month, I was like, he was 100% right. If you have an abundant mindset and if you have the right head on your shoulders and you have the right lens in which you view life, money just shows up. And
Yes.
yeah, that's changed my life forever.
So the difference between you at that time and you in the past, also 99.9999% of the people, is that you were in a state of flow. You were flowing. The thing that you said, you were a synthesizer.
Mm-hmm.
You were flowing.
Mm-hmm.
You were like emotionally. Patrick, but David calls it a state of flow
Mm-hmm.
because of a book he wrote about emotional energy. Uh, what's his name? Oh my God, the guy who 60 something years, uh, real
Wow.
estate sales. Uh, my God, what's his name? Another mentor calls it being alive. He's always alive. Um, yeah. Now you called it being a synthesizer, meaning that you absorb the knowledge, you turn it into content,
Mhm,
and you use that to bring in more clients. That's sort
mhm,
of like a perpetual motion machine that
mhm,
sort of expands and grows, even more than perpetual. It grows and expands. It's a net positive machine.
mhm.
Uh, it's something that exists in the nature. Uh, anyway, uh, how can we be alive, or how can we be in a state of flow, or how can we be a synthesizer?
Yeah, so to be a synthesizer is very easy. You just have to find something that interests you, that you want to learn a ton about, that you want to be an expert in, that you are going to put 10,000 hours worth of vested time into. And it has to also be something that people actually want to learn about, right? Because here's the thing, somebody can either spend time or money to learn something, right? So you can either like spend years of time you learning how to do something, or you can just pay with money and pay a mentor to teach you, or pay a coach to teach you, or buy a course that will teach you, or buy a book that'll teach you. And so you want to you want to learn about something that people want to learn more about, but they don't have the time to go out and do all the research, and they would rather just get all of the information packaged up nicely in a very easy way to digest it, right? And obviously something that like you can sell, right? And so for me, that was just like financial services. And so I wasn't selling knowledge, I wasn't selling courses or anything. I was just taking information that was out there, and I turned it and I packaged it in short form content and YouTube videos in a way that anyone could watch, even if they're not super financially literate, and they could absorb and digest the information very easily. And then my services was the way for them to actually execute and implement it into their personal finances.
It's amazing. Okay, so you became a successful insurance agent first.
Hmm.
So what separated you from the others was the success that you obtained through insurance sales.
Hmm.
Then, what did you do with the money that you were making? You said 6 months, multiple six figures. What did you
Yeah,
do with the money? You mentioned about your passion for real estate. What did you do with
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I didn't forget about my mentors that had told me the way that we became real estate investors is that we got into sales because we had an unlimited income potential. We made a lot of money, and then we took that money and invested in real estate. That was my game plan in my head. That was exactly what I wanted to do. And that's exactly what I did. I took that money that I made in sales and I went and invested in commercial multifamily real estate. The exact real estate that I had always been obsessed with, that I always aspired to invest in as a little kid. And so because of that, now I'm a life insurance broker, and a real estate investor, right? And a synthesizer. Many titles. I would consider myself a digital stoic as well.
digital stoic?
Yes.
What is that?
Do you know what a stoic is?
No.
Okay. Do you know what stoicism is?
Yeah,
Okay.
stoicism is the process that you endure lots of pain for your growth, and uh,
Yeah,
you
it's kind
sort
of like
of
discipline.
push down the feelings and being tough.
Exactly. Yeah. So Greek, the Greeks and the Romans were very big. Especially Marcus Aurelius and all those guys. They were all Stoics, and so um, again, business is 99% mindset, right? Your mind has to be right, because things are going to be hard, and you can't give up, and you have to believe in yourself, and you have to keep pushing forward. And having a stoic mind helps you so much with this. And so that's why I attribute a lot of my success to my mindset and just being a stoic. However, I make money online. So I call myself a digital stoic.
Because you're an online person, but your
Because
personality
yeah,
wise,
I'm in
you're really
virtual
stoic.
sales. Yeah, I'm in virtual sales. And so, you know, because of that, I gave myself the title digital stoic.
Okay. Uh, at the moment, right now, you have a business. Your business is called the Enhanced Wealth. You
Hmm.
went from a successful insurance broker to having the Enhanced Wealth. What is Enhanced Wealth? What do you do? How did you go from being a successful salesperson to your current business?
Yeah. So I just felt like I had more to offer to the world than just selling life insurance. Um, I absolutely love the product that I sell. I think the IUL is the absolute best financial vehicle that people can place money into. It is a foundational asset. I actually call it, and I trademarked the name. It is an enhanced asset, right? Because the company is called Enhanced Wealth, and our main flagship product is the enhanced asset, right? And so I wanted to provide more to people than just offering them an IUL for them to put money into, so that they could invest smarter, faster, safer, right? And so I basically turned Enhanced Wealth, the brand, into we can help any person enhance their wealth in many different ways. And the way that we do that is through our financial freedom framework. And there's 5 phases to that. And so we help people with estate planning. So if you're already a multimillionaire and you are, in the phase of your life where you recognize that eventually you're no longer going to be here and you want to make sure that you pass down your estate to your family and create generational wealth, we'll also build out an estate plan for you. I'm not sure. Have you ever heard of a family office?
Yes, I've heard of
Okay.
it.
So
It's a
enhanced
way
wealth,
to invest
really
your generational wealth.
what I'm trying to do with enhanced wealth is really turn it into a family office. And so that's what I'm trying to do. That's the direction that I'm heading into with enhanced wealth. And so we set up trusts for people. We set up estate plans for people. We set up corporate structure for people, right? So we'll take a deep dive into your business. We'll look at all the assets you own as a real estate investor. It's crazy how many people own all these houses underneath their legal name and not under like an
Oh my God,
LLC.
tell me about
So
it.
we so
Every
we
house an
turn
LLC, right?
so
Every
we
house
turn, yeah, we
an
turn every
LLC.
single house into its own LLC. Then we have a holding company, and then the trust owns the holding company. So we set up that whole corporate structure for people. We do tax planning for people. We do asset management for people. Obviously, we set people up with IULs, and we help people invest in multifamily real estate because I'm a professional real estate investor. So I'm also a syndicator. So we do syndication deals where all of our partners partner with us in our real estate deals. And so we do a lot for our clients. We do so many different things. And then also, with enhanced wealth, I've kind of, broken off another little division, enhanced entrepreneur. So enhanced entrepreneur, like I'd mentioned, I was a real estate agent. Now I'm a real estate broker, and I've created my own brokerage. And so, obviously the brand is growing. We're growing followers. We're getting bigger. We're servicing more clients. All these different things, right? And
Yes.
so, I'm bringing on more life insurance agents. I need more people who want to get into remote sales. So I created another like division underneath Enhanced Wealth. That's Enhanced Entrepreneur. If you're a young motivated guy, or girl, I guess, who has good work ethic and is ready to make money virtually online in remote sales, then I'm looking for those people, right? And so when you join Enhanced Entrepreneur, I teach you how to make money, right? To basically do exactly what I did: make money in sales, create a personal brand, take that money and invest it in real estate so that you now also own real estate. So that's exactly what I'm doing with Enhanced Entrepreneur. And then obviously with enhanced wealth, we help people enhance their wealth, right? And so you kind of have to already have money to do that, right? In order to kind of
Yes.
use value well and to really take full advantage of it, to take out the policy loans, to go invest in income producing assets, you need capital to do that. For those who don't have capital, but they're driven, they want to make something happen, you should get into sales, just like how my mentors told me to get in sales because it changed my life. Now, me being like your mentor, I'm telling you guys should get in sales and you guys should have me teach you how to do sales because I'm going to place you into a sales role in my company. So I'll
Yes.
teach you sales and I'll give you a job in one.
Yeah. Awesome. Amazing. Do you charge anything for these young entrepreneurs to become a part of your team, or you find the right person and give them opportunity as you were given yourself?
Right. So obviously you have to pay to like get your license,
No, no, no,
right?
no, no.
You have to pay
Yourself, your
for
own education. That's the
so to join Enhanced Entrepreneur.
yes.
So this is the pay structure that I have for it. Actually, I don't know if I want to say it because I'm not dead set on how much I'm going to charge for it yet. However, yes, there will be an amount that you have to pay. But you know, it's an investment into yourself, right? And so that's really what I want. I want you to have skin in the game. It's not going to be some crazy number, you know what I mean? It's going to be very cheap because I'm recognizing just like myself that these guys don't have a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
That's why they want to get into sales. They want to make money. So it's going to be a very low barrier to entry, but it is going to be some dollar amount to get in to join our sales team or it's just to get training from me. And then once you're kind of done with your training, then I'll place you in a sales role within my company. But I need you to have skin in the game because we're going to do trainings. I want you to actually see value in it. I want you to actually sit down and watch all the courses. I actually want you to jump on our weekly sales trainings and product trainings and all those things. And so because of that, um, I need you to have skin in the game so that you actually have a vested interest other than just like, oh, hey, this is free. Because I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but when stuff is free, people don't value it. But when they
That
have to
is
pay for it,
absolutely
they
true.
do value it. And
Yeah.
so that's the only reason why I'm charging. It's not to make money, it's to actually make you value it and to like actually add some fire underneath your butt to like get in there, jump on all the calls, jump on the live trainings with me, like I'll be on every single one, and to actually get trained up, get all your licensing and stuff done. And then as soon as you're good to go to start selling, then at that point, that's when we'll place you into the sales role within our company. And then, you know, we'll go from there.
This is thoroughly online, absolutely online. No need for a physical presence in uh, Illinois or New York or Los Angeles, anywhere.
Mhm.
Can do
There's
it.
no need for it. You can do it anywhere in the United States, but I am trying to build a very, very tight knit group of guys, which is why I say like I want guys on my team, or girls on my sales team that are just like me, around my age, you know, like 18 to about 30, I'd say, just driven, ambitious, hardworking people. And I want us all to grow like a big family. And I will be doing events. We will do meetups. You know, I want the company culture to be like no other. And so it is all remote. However, I will be hosting events and stuff for all of us to come together as a company and do company trips. And yeah, I definitely want to meet everybody in person. I think that they should meet me. And so yeah, I mean, like we'll be doing like multiple company trips and events a year. But in terms of like everything to do remote sales, yeah, it's all remote.
So remote. Okay. Um, Now, uh, what do you want to talk about? Do you have anything else to teach us today? Do you have anything for the people who want to succeed and follow the same path that you followed, which is less travel? Do you want to cover anything more on this topic, or do you think we're done for today?
Yeah, I'll say one last thing to kind of close this out, Frank. I think self-belief is so critical. I think the only reason why I'm at where I'm at is because I had full faith in myself. Um, And I really think that this journey would have been a lot easier if I would have built a relationship with God a lot sooner. I'll be honest, I have very recently started building a relationship with God.
It's
I
awesome
would
to
say
hear this.
probably,
Let
huh?
me tell you this. I was an atheist. I was an atheist
Hmm.
from the age of 9, really young for an atheist,
Yeah, yeah,
until I was like 22, okay, or
yeah.
23.
Uh-huh.
It's been 3 years since I've rediscovered God and
Hmm.
built my belief around God.
Hmm.
I'm born Muslim. As a
Hmm.
result, I follow the same thing,
Hmm.
and I really enjoy it. Um, I feel more
Absolutely.
powerful. I feel strong
Right.
inside and outside.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Uh,
And so that same faith that you have in God, you need to have in yourself too. And you
yes,
have to understand that um if you don't believe you're going to be able to do something, then it's literally impossible. But if you can believe it and if you can conceive it and see it in your mind, then you can achieve it, right? And so you have to manifest these things. And I'm not saying like manifest it as in like that corny way that people talk about manifestation where they just like close their eyes and like I manifest riches in my life. You know what I mean? I say manifest it as in your daily actionable inputs determine your outputs. Your rituals, habits and routines that you do every single day are will eventually become the manifestation of your future, right? So everything that you're doing today, you're going to see the fruits of that labor in 6 months from now, right? That's another way to say that is that the things you're doing now will manifest into something. And so if you're not happy, if you're watching this right now, if you're not happy with where you're at right now, you are the only person to blame because you are where you're at right now because of the decisions and the rituals and the habits and the routines that you've implemented into your life for the last 6 months, because that's gotten you to where you are now. If you don't want to continue to be at where you're at right now and you want to level up and you want to elevate, and if you want to enhance your life, enhance your wealth, enhance the amount of money in your bank account, enhance the type of person that you are, you have to start changing the things you're doing now because in 6 months from now, that'll manifest into the new version of you, right?
yes.
And that's why
Thank you
self
so much.
development, that's why self development is so important.
Self development, and I believe persistence is also really important. You have to be as motivated as you
Right.
are disciplined, and you have
Right.
to have a chain and not break the chain and
Yeah,
follow
yeah. I think
the
like persistency and tenacity,
tenacity.
all that just stems back to belief. Because if you really believe in yourself, you're never going to give up, right? And people call that tenacity or persistency. And really, it's just belief. It's just having faith. If you have faith in yourself and if you have faith in God, then you'll never give up. And if you never give up, that means you've never lost. Because you don't fail, you learn from your failures. The only time you fail is when you give up. Because at the point in which you give up is when you have 100% solidified that you will not win.
Only failure is when you give up.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's all success.
Yeah. It's all just a part of the journey.
Let me tell you this. Uh, the word for self, the word for self, and the word for God are almost the same in Persian, my mother tongue. Self is khud, God is khuda.
Mm.
So basically, you're a reflection of God on the face of the earth.
Hmm.
You have to live up to that standard.
Mm.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Again, Frank, thank you so much for the questions, brother. I really appreciate you. And I'm excited for, the topic that you decide that we'll talk about next week.
Thank you to all our listeners and everybody who follows us. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.